Yesterday on page 168, he was speaking about the 6 aspects of reflection. What is reflection? On what do you reflect? To what degree do you reflect? What interferes with reflection? You know, we see many things and we don't even notice them. So why don't we notice them? So there's always the interference aspect. Omer HaMechaber, bottom paragraph 168. Ach mahusa b'chinihi. What is the essence of reflection? Hizboni b'simoni chochma sabori babruim. One should reflect on the wisdom of the Creator in creation. V'sharom ba'nefesh v'koach ha'koros ha'mavchin. And to evaluate them or to relate to them within your being according to the capacity of the one who's able to make this analysis. You know, 2 people see the same thing. Each of them do an analysis on something. And each one comes away with something else. But the second person, because he has a greater capacity, a greater depth of understanding, comes away with something totally different than the first person. Saw the Tzav in his introduction to Bereshis, in his commentary on Chumash. We say in one of the Friday night, Kol Hashem b'koach, Kol Hashem b'hodor. So the Medrash says, what is it referring to? Kol Hashem b'koach. That's referring to Sinai. We heard the sound, the voice of Hashem, the sounds. So the Medrash asks, what does it say? Kol Hashem b'koach. You say Kol Hashem b'kocho, right? What Kol Hashem with power? Which power? His power or the people's power? So the Medrash says that when Hashem presented the Torah to Klal Yisrael at Sinai, everyone was at a different level. Everyone had his own capacity. So the kol each one heard was based on his own capacity. Each person had his own capacity. So what each one took away from the experience was a different experience. It's Bekocho would indicate God's power, God's capacity. God's capacity is unlimited. But what he communicated was based on each individual's capacity. So I'm saying when people reflect, it's based on your capacity and your ability, depth and breadth of analysis. That's what he says. It's based on one's power of perception. You know, 2 people walk away from something. One person says, amazing. The other person doesn't say amazing. I'll give you an example. Okay, there's a little bit of Musa what I'm going to say right now. Very often I say things. I'm not here boasting. I could tell you, I say it at Torah after davening, it's profound. If I'd say it in the yeshiva, they'd be thunderstruck by it. Hear people hear it? Oh, right away they're eating the bowl of cereal. You know what's going on? You understand? I heard what you said, okay. You may have heard, but it didn't meet its mark. Because if you would have appreciated, understood its profoundness, we are able to take this, and what you're able to do with it, you'd be standing there for 5 minutes reflecting what you just heard. Okay, we have to say the last Kaddish. Okay, by the way, you know, don't forget Yaliyava tonight. That's where you're going with it. You know? Okay. Make sure 2.9 ounces for the revius, you know, the cup. That's where you're going with it. Ki ha-chochma v'simoni nechlokim nechlok babruim. But when you look and analyze and reflect on different things, the different aspects, the human body is probably the most profound part of creation. There's nothing which is compared, especially, you know, according to Chazal, the human being is a microcosm of all existence. every aspect of existence that exists in existence exists within the human body. And we don't see it, but that's a fact. So if that's a fact, so to be amazed and to see God's greatness as a creator, if you're able to appreciate what exists within the human body, then you see it all. So he says, but what about if you look at details of existence? A blade of grass. You're looking at a stone, a granule of sand. I just read maybe a year ago an article on rain. Why in certain regions it rains or doesn't rain, in terms of what, when the moisture rises, eventually there's condensation, it comes down as rain. What is the process? It's unbelievable process. They're particles of sand or dust, and the moisture clings to it, otherwise it doesn't rise by itself. And when the wind blows, and that allows it to go into the clouds, and eventually, when there's sufficient, there's a concentration of water, comes down as rain. I'm telling you, on the most superficial level. Just read an article on, maybe a few months ago, on weight loss. That when you eat something, the senses in the mouth, let's eat carbohydrates, the senses in the mouth, or protein, that when you put it in your mouth, immediately, even before you swallow it, before you eat it, there's a message to the brain regarding the body consuming of calories of the body. So what do? So they figured that out, so now they have a certain kind of mouthwash which has the equivalent of carbohydrates and certain things, and you swish it in your mouth, so therefore you're sending all the message made, so when you do the exercise afterwards, you maximize on the exercise in terms of burning calories while you're exercising. But they say, you shouldn't do it too often because you have to actually supplement the body. I mean, you have to eat food. You can't, because otherwise you're totally. But you see the genius. The senses in the mouth, that whatever goes in the mouth immediately, the messages to the brain what's about to be eaten, and it's as if it's already eaten because that's the process. What's the idea of saliva in the mouth? We don't have a dentist here right now. Okay, Steve hasn't arrived, right? The bacteria in the mouth, and also which destroy negative, in terms of decay in your teeth, breaking down the food. It's the genius is beyond. But this all happened by itself. This is the Big Bang. Now, Big Bang took about 8 billion years to happen. Okay, but it happened, right, on a rational, intelligent level. And would you believe that? Okay, and that's just one aspect. Multiple over endless times. This came by itself. This is the grand design beyond anything you could imagine. That's what creation is. So do you see the Chochmas HaBorei, God's wisdom, God's genius, which is infinite? And all this is only a means to an end. Could you imagine? And what's the means to the end? This is the pros door. And what's the end? The end is the Torah. That's the objective. This is all for the Torah. Rabbi, I don't have time right now. Too busy. And say God creates all this for what? So you should have healthy teeth, and you should be able to go to the gym and maximize on your membership that you pay. Okay. The therapist says you work the arm because when you go out to the green and you swing the club, you wouldn't be able to hit the ball in that direction unless So therefore, it's important to have the coordination. Okay, that's what it's about. But God says I have a different script. All this is for something else. Okay?
How do you make a connection between all of these things and the ultimate goal of the Torah?
It is connected. Well, personally, you have an obligation to maintain your existence. You have an obligation to maintain your existence. Like the Rambam says, there's a Torah obligation to be healthy. Because you cannot have a healthy mind unless you have a healthy body. Because any degree of physical ailing or pain is a distraction from what you have to do. And that's the key. The key is focus, not to be distracted. So if a person maintains his health in an irresponsible way, you're undermining, you're interfering. When a person comes to work and he's sleeping at his desk, the person says, look, I'm paying your salary. He says, but you realize I only had 2 hours sleep last night. He says, who told you to only sleep 2? You should have slept 6 hours, 8 hours. Well, I was up late. Okay, you know something, then you don't belong here. I mean, who are you working for? Are you working for me, or you're wasting your life? Same to Hashem, you know, you have an obligation to maintain your health, to live responsibly, because you have a purpose. Well, but I enjoyed that. Okay, but you're not addressing what you're supposed to be addressing. He be yisoda, he says, v'imsim nechlokim bebruim, he be yisod v'ikora achas, kashemesh asher hi achas b'ikora ba'atzmo. The sun is an entity unto itself. You know, speak about the sun. What is the sun? Without the sun, existence wouldn't exist. But what generates the heat? The positives and negatives. It's only because the distance to Earth, otherwise the Earth would be destroyed, would be totally burnt. And if we were too far, nothing would happen. There wouldn't be life. To be continued.
And it's a matter of a few millimeters where the sun is compared to the...
Do you know how many meteorites fall and they don't hit? If they would ever hit the Earth, it would destroy the Earth. They're burnt up. Doesn't make sense. And even when they do, it misses the Earth. When it falls in a location which there's no destruction. Every time, don't you think once in a while it should destroy a city? Doesn't happen. Why? Well, that's the way it is. Yeah, but it fell out in what's his name, in Siberia or something. Yeah. So that's what, you're right. See, that's that we're talking about. Notice, how do you reflect? What gives you the ability to focus? Focus is the key. As they say in English, you know, you just don't get it. People just don't get it. That's the way it is. Okay.